Hey everybody, welcome to Simulmedia Live. My name is Matt Collins. It's so great to have you with us for our first show of July, and I'm really pleased to have you all here. Over the last 3 months, no secret that e-commerce has absolutely had its moment, and trends that were leaning towards e-commerce for years have accelerated it, in part because many of us had no choice but to buy online. But within the world of e-commerce, I think it's very clear that there are a subset of providers, of ecosystem players that have a really unique and exciting angle on e-commerce. In particular, I'm thinking about marketplaces. We think about online marketplaces, and of course, we think about the big incumbents like Amazon or eBay. But there are others that are coming that are bringing real innovation and bringing real customer centricity and entirely new ways of shopping. And many of these marketplaces are also, of course, exploring television advertising as a way of getting in front of their target customers, and so that draws our interest. And many of the folks like you who are watching, who are interested in knowing what's happening in the world of television, I think are going to want to keep an eye on what's happening with these marketplaces. And so in thinking about marketplaces, we thought we'd call on a friend of Simulmedia, Imran Khan, who's the CEO of Verishop. Before Verishop, he was the chief strategy officer at Snap. He was also managing director at both Credit Suisse and JP Morgan Chase. And so Imran Khan, it's so great to have you on Simulmedia Live to talk to us about what you're up to at Verishop. Great to see you, my friend.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
It's awesome to have you here. First of all, before we get into all that you've been up to at Verishop, and you've made some headlines in the last couple of days, tell me, how are things with your family and with your employees?
Yeah, so Verishop is your digital shopping mall. And what basically we are trying to do is build this largest online shopping mall in the Western world. If you think about it, what's happening in e-commerce, Amazon is like your search engine. E-commerce is like a flea market, but there's a lot of brands do not want to be on Amazon or do not want to be on eBay. Because the reason is brand is a promise and brand wants to tell their stories, and there is no great way to tell their stories in current e-commerce platform. So what we wanted to create this digital shopping mall where consumers can come, hang out, and learn about different brands and new products, discover new items, and get the same convenience of best-in-class e-commerce companies, or where also brands can come and tell their stories and also sell their product. So that's what we're building.
It feels very much to me like the digital version, maybe not so much of a Western mall, but I'm thinking about malls that I've experienced in China, where shopping in a mall in China is actually like visiting 200 different stores inside a shared space. But they don't operate, the ones that I've been to don't operate like kiosks. It feels like it sort of flows from space to space, but you get very different shops and very different shopkeepers who do have a story and a unique look and feel in all of them. And as I was explaining to Imran before we came on, I'm a recent shopper. My wife and I are recent shoppers on Verishop and experienced that for ourselves, that there is a real sense of connection to the individual brands that merchandise and sell on Verishop. I wanted to ask you, Imran, a question that has been on my mind. I've been waiting to ask someone like you this question for 10 years. E-commerce to me, for all of its simplicity and efficiency, I think generally speaking, has no heartbeat. And so many people enjoy shopping for the emotional payoff, for the thrill of finding and discovering a value, or finding and discovering a beautiful item or beautiful object. And it seems to me that most online shopping deprives the shopper of this rich emotional reward potential. I'm curious, first of all, can e-commerce be made to be fun? And if it can be made to be fun, how is Verishop approaching that?
Yeah, so I think to understand current e-commerce, you have to understand the history of internet. When internet got really started, into commercialization of internet, not internet got started a long time before that, but when the commercialization of internet got started in 90s, internet was predominantly search based and portal based. So you go to a search box and you search for a thing, and that index the web and give you an answer, or you go to a portal and portal tells you what's going on, based on the portal information. So all the businesses, when they went to internet, the business based on search and portal. Obviously that gave the rise of Google and then Yahoo, Amazon, eBay. All those businesses are based on search and portal. However, in 2007, iPhone came along, and that's revolutionized how people start their journey on mobile or on the web. And as people are accessing web through internet through mobile devices, the behavior completely changed. It became much more browse-based. It became much more feed-based. It became much more camera-centric. So the whole experience changed. What we saw during last 13 years after the innovation of iPhone, that digital companies actually embrace this new format. And what happened is you have this feed-based now on Instagram, on Snapchat, on TikTok. You have a lot of high integration of camera on the platform, so you can actually discover product through camera or find the joy through camera. That didn't result it into e-commerce, and the reason it didn't, many people tried before, and the reason they failed, e-commerce has an extra layer of complexity. And the extra layer of complexity is when somebody buys something, they're giving you money and they're giving you their trust, and they want the product to show up on time. So a big part of the e-commerce is an incredibly boring part, which is like managing your warehouse, managing your customer support, managing your shipping. In a social media or in a new generation content company, all changed. Only thing that changed is mechanism of content delivery. But in e-commerce, changing the mechanism of content delivery without solving the back end doesn't really solve the problem. The challenge is the companies that are incumbent in e-commerce has figured this problem. They all have legacy systems. So it's very difficult for them to change the way we saw that on the digital media space. This is why Yahoo never became Facebook, right? Facebook never became Instagram. And so win in this space to bring the value of digital media transition that we saw going from search and portal based to also in a world where browse and discovery and camera based, we need to, before you bring that experience, you need to build the core e-commerce experience. The story I tell, in 2007 when iPhone came along, I went and bought an iPhone. And the first thing I did is pick up the phone and called my wife to see if the phone works. Because if I am going to give old phone back, I want to make sure I can communicate with people before I go check out the app stores. So this is why we went a completely different route. And this is our, if you go to a desktop experience, it's very much like a traditional e-commerce. You go there, you buy something, and the product shows up. We do 2-day free shipping, free return, 24/7 customer support. We put the customer support number on the top of the site. We don't try to hide that. Our net promoter 75, which is higher than Apple. However, now, starting yesterday, we announced that, so the timing of this call is fantastic, is bringing this joy of the shopping back on App Store through iOS app. And that is where you can go, you can see a feed of lifestyle videos and pictures, and you can spend time consuming those content. And if any content excites you, if you click on the pictures, our computer vision technology recognize what are the products in that pictures and videos and recommend you similar product. So it takes you through a rabbit hole of discovery. But on the back end, if you buy something from there or a traditional commerce way, you have the same Amazonian experience. And that's what we're trying to do. So this is where I think the commerce is going. And that's what we're trying to do.
So I'm joined today by Imran Khan. He is the CEO of online marketplace Verishop. We're talking about how Verishop is introducing pleasure and fun and joy into a shopping experience that's very much rooted in a mobile-first experience. And this notion of shoppable content, Imran, I want to come back to this because as I was explaining before the show, I'm an Android user, so far I've been deprived of the app innovation that you described. But for those who are hearing this notion of shoppable content, what does that mean? I think about the prospect of Verishop becoming an entertainment platform that's also social and also has a commerce component to it, where we would actually find moments of entertainment or diversion in watching a quick video. Am I on the right track?
Yeah, shopping is entertainment, right? I think if you look at, there are two kind of shopping, right? Shopping that is utility driven. You need your toilet paper, you need your tissue paper. That's great. You buy it, move on. But then if you are buying something that's thoughtful, you are effectively buying a brand. So the t-shirt you're wearing, t-shirt versus somebody's selling, I'm sure it's some sort of brand, but that t-shirt versus another t-shirt that is made in Bangladesh for $4. What's the difference? They're all 100% common. The difference is it's made by a brand who stand for something. A brand is a promise. Every brand has a story to tell. A brand is an influencer. And what we are doing on the app, creating this environment where people who have a story to tell, it could be a brand, it could be a curator, it could like a boutique, it could be a human influencer who can come tell about their lifestyle, whether it's cooking, whether it's shop fashion, whether it's beauty regimen, whether it's their electronics excitement. And you can consume those content and learn, and if anything interests you, you can explore the same product or similar product through our platform. And the goal is to, most people go to shopping mall for three reasons: fun, discovery, and convenience. So the goal is this app experience is to bring this fun and discovery. You have 5 minutes break in between your meetings. You can go to Verishop app in iOS. Hopefully we'll have Android soon. And you can just kill 5 minutes, be inspired. And what I like to say that our goal is to make inspiration shoppable.
If any of you today are watching and have a question for Imran Khan, the CEO of Verishop, please ask it however you're watching, whether that's Zoom or Twitter or LinkedIn. We've got eyes on all those channels, and we'll get your question to Imran before we go. So Imran, a lot of people who are watching this work at brands, agencies, or networks. And they're often thinking about every single day, how do I acquire more customers? How do I create more customers for my brand? And many of them, of course, think about media in that context. Tell us about how Verishop has gone from an idea, or about a year ago, you guys are just turned a year, I believe, so happy anniversary, to now having a growing following, and you're making news, and you're attracting some world-class brands, and you've built this fantastic platform that has now an entertainment component to it in this shoppable content. What are the things that Verishop does to grow its customer base?
Yeah. So before I go there, given the audience, I want to emphasize something. Verishop, if you're a brand, or if you're an agency who's working with brand, Verishop is your ultimate performance medium. Because think about it, you don't pay anything on our platform for it. All the great content you create is you get free exposure, and soon enough, you people will be able to follow you on our platform also. That's coming soon. That's a breaking news at Simulmedia. Just kidding. However, you don't pay us anything unless people complete a transaction on our platform. So you can sell on our platform three ways: through wholesale model with our partnership, through dropship, our marketplace model, which basically you ship, you can upload the product starting September 1. But at the same time, what you can do is create great content and tell your stories, because either you are a brand who has a story to tell, or you are representing a brand as an agency who has a story to tell, to talk about our platform, and then you can acquire customers effectively for free and only pay us when there's a transaction happens. So we are effectively probably a true performance-based video network. That's I call people. To answer your question, what we did, look, I think what we did at the beginning, we started as a plain old vanilla e-commerce companies, and I think people shop for 4 reasons. They care about convenience, they care about quality, they care about price, they care about selection. And so we're really, really focused on selection. So now we have more than 600 brands on our site with more than 13,000 different kind of products, and it's growing at an incredibly fast pace. And so people love for the selection. A lot of customers come and they said, we found something that we couldn't find anywhere else. And then they recommend their friends. We have a very good convenience, and we talked about our NPS the score. So I think we really focused on customers, and then on top of that, we did marketing. We did online campaign, we did offline campaign, we did across the board.
Did you find in the beginning that your initial customer acquisition, was it built on a strategy around virality? Was it built around recruiting in what I think of as a hardcore, passionate group of initial customers that you overserved and then counted on to spread word of mouth? Is that primarily how people are finding you, or has it been primarily through some of the paid work that you've done in both offline and online channels?
Yeah, close to 50% of our traffic is like direct traffic, where people are going directly to Verishop.com site, or the returning users. 50% of them are returning users, and however, what we try to do across like we look at LTV, we look at CAC, and what we have to do is, we have the benchmark of all the companies who are like us or similar to us, and trying to manage for this LTV CAC relationships.
And that's it, like so many performance marketers. I mean, this is all about finding those high value customers and then bringing them in. And then once you have them inside your conversion engine, which is how a lot of growth marketers refer to the experience on the inside, you count on the product experience, the customer experience, and the entertainment value, which you're bringing, the emotional component of this, turning a visitor into a paid customer. And that's certainly very familiar with how a lot of brands operate. Again, if you have a question for Imran Khan, the CEO of Verishop, just ask it however you're watching, and we will get your question on the air. Imran, I wanted to ask you about how the last 3.5 months or so now, coming up on 4 months of pandemic, have changed customer behavior for Verishop customers, and what do you think of those behaviors might be permanent?
Yeah, I think what we saw is the category mix shift, right? So if you look at our home category or our beauty category, the revenue from those categories doubled month over month in April. Those businesses were 20% of our revenue pre-COVID, then became 40-45% of our revenue. So we saw overall healthy revenue growth. In April, our revenue grew 33%, April grew 30%, May grew 33%, but driven by home and beauty category. As people have started going out, we're seeing the fashion apparel categories is picking up, but beauty and home remain stronger pre-COVID area. So it'll be interesting to see how that behavior changes. It's hard for us to say because we're such a new platform, but I'm pleasantly surprised to see the diversification and the value of diversity in the platform.
You were talked a little bit before the program, Imran, about the customer profile. Who would you identify as a typical Verishop customer, and how does that customer, you think, differ from someone who might be prioritizing or favoring other platforms?
Yeah, so I think in terms of demographic, 18 to 34 is our biggest audience. That's 60% of our audience. 18 to 44 is the vast majority of the audience, but we're getting older demographic also. And in terms of our customers, that they're more urban minded. They don't necessarily live in the urban area, but they're more urban minded. They care about sustainability. They care about fashion. They care about authenticity. They care about quality. These are the customers who probably would go to mall a lot. And they are interested about learning a brand stories. Those are our customers. And obviously, because of our product selection right now, 80% are female, but winning the product selection. Our men's category is really good. We're bringing in electronics and other things, but because it's women fashion is such a big part of it as of today, 80% is women.
So we've got our first question. This question comes from Genevieve, and Genevieve wants to know how it is that Verishop decides who's going to be allowed to sell on the platform. I think what Genevieve is asking is, how curated is the process for getting a brand into Verishop?
Yeah, so great question. Thank you for asking. So at the beginning, it was very curated. So we have a group of buyers who came from very long in department stores and fashion industry, who went and built these relationships, because at the beginning we didn't have the recommendation engines, we didn't have the feed, so we wanted to really start with the high quality curated point of view. As we grow more and more, we are bringing more and more selection on the platform, and with the idea, one is giving consumer more choices and make technology to help you find those choices, because biggest challenge with selection is that uh, it's hard to find product. So the question is, how can I help create a navigation for you to find that? So on mobile, it will be 100% recommendation engine driven and topics driven. So that's what we're creating on mobile. So if you're using an iOS store app, if you keep using it, it will start learning you and doing the recommendation engine. Ultimately, that recommendation engines will power your desktop experience also. But also on the desktop, we're bringing a lot of filter functionalities, that helps you to narrow it down based on your interest. One of the interesting challenge in shopping versus typical traditional media world is that in a traditional media industry world, you probably like one or two topics, and I can give you that kind of information as you want, right? So if you like sports, I can give you 2 hours of sports. You will spend 2 hours of consuming sports. If you like politics, I can give you 2 hours of politics content, and it's pretty. You don't deviate from that too much unless there's a big crisis. As shopping, it's very interesting. Shopping, depending on the day, your choices are different. So think about it. If you are going to a date, the kind of clothing you're going to wear versus you are going out with your parents, that's very different. Then you are going out with your girlfriends is very different. So at different time, you are, or if you're going to office, you have a very different look. So different people, or you're going to an island vacation, buying different kind of things. So different people buy different product based on the need, and people, they can have multiple personality. So the interesting thing that what we're trying to solve is based on your interest at that time. How can we narrow it down and also give you a lot of choice rather than just having one point of view? Then we can only serve you on that point of view and cannot serve for your other needs. So our goal is to give consumer the choice based on whatever your need is, and make it as easy as possible through recommendation engines, through filters and things like that.
Well, if you can crack that, Imran, that would be fantastic, because I find that I'm chronically disappointed by the recommendation engines of other shopping platforms that I use. I just find that they, to your point, they treat it as if treat shopping as if it were news or topical information. So if I'm buying a piece of electronics on some other marketplace or some other online store, you can bet that the next time I go there, my homepage is going to be dominated by electronics. And or if by suddenly I shift and I go buy a book about a particular topic, about historical fiction, then I'm just going to get hit with that. And it seems like all these recommendation engines do is just sort of feed you a fire hose of more of whatever it is the last thing that you bought. And if
Yeah,
you can get
I think this is the problem of diversity of thinking. And a lot of times, a lot of the e-commerce platforms are built by people who doesn't shop themselves. You know, this is, I think, one of the big thing is really listening to the customers and have a team who actually is passionate about this problem. And again, we're not there yet. We're 1 year old company. Explorer is the first step towards that direction, and really, create this experience for you. And I'm really excited what are all the great things we're working on that will come out in next 6 months or so.
Genevieve, thank you for your question. We have another one. This one comes from Margot, and Margot wanted to know, is Verishop becoming an entertainment company? I mean, and I know you mentioned that entertainment is a part of the shopping experience, but one could look at the shoppable content as the first step towards becoming a bit of an entertainment platform that happens to have shopping and social capabilities.
Yeah, I think entertainment is a very important part of shopping. Uh, as I said, if it's only utility driven, then you don't need to have that many common product. You don't need to have that many brands. You don't need to have stories. Uh, you know, shopping helps you to discover things that you didn't know. It helps you to learn about things that you don't know because different brand has different understanding. In a way, each brand is a publisher's, right? So that way, yes, we are inspired to be an entertainment company, and I think the way we think about it, is very different than traditional e-commerce companies. Traditional e-commerce companies manage the business for how many times a person come to the site and what percentage of the time people convert. They try to optimize that. So they only want you to go when you have a high intent of shopping. What approach we are taking in our app experience is we want you have 5 minutes break between your meetings. Come spend time with us. See what's out there. If anything inspire you, save it. If you really, really inspire you, try to find the same product or similar product. So that's what we're trying to do. We want to be part of your everyday life and bring joy to you, and a platform that will entertain you and you can shop.
Margot, that's a great question. And it seems to me, Imran, that you and your colleagues at Verishop, more than any other company that I've gotten to know, have really tried, or really trying to recreate the dynamics of brick and mortar shopping. Because you're so right. When we go to malls, you rattled off the reasons why people go to malls. And so much of it is the pleasure of browsing. And that browsing, by the way, can be the first step towards what eventually becomes a purchase journey that you might buy, maybe not that day, but you might buy in 2 weeks, in 2 months' time. And here you are incentivizing that. I think it's really innovative.
Thank you. It's a complicated problem, but I'm excited to see if we can solve it. But please download that and try it. More you use, better we get.
Well, as we mentioned, I'm going to be sharing news of the iOS app innovation and the shoppable content with my teenage daughters, who will both of them, I think, have something to look forward to when they dig into the application. Imran, it's been great to have you on the program. How can people learn more about you and learn more about Verishop?
So I think the first thing is, again, we're working on an Android app. Hopefully we'll have it at some point. But please download the iOS app. Use the product. If you have any feedback, feel free to send me a note, either Imran at Verishop or my LinkedIn, or however, feel free to send comments through Twitter. I'm on Twitter also at .khan, DOTTKHAN. So reach out, any kind of feedback. I think it's a fascinating technology problem because of the reason I outlined, and I think there's a lot of innovation opportunity, and it's an interesting challenge.
It surely is. And boy, it's great to connect with you and get a chance to talk about some things, Imran, that have been on my mind for a long time. And now as a household that's has a customer of Verishop in it, it was doubly fun to be able to connect with you. Wish you and your family all the best, Imran. I hope we can get you on again before your second anniversary. And really appreciate having you on Simulmedia Live. Thanks for being here, man.
Thanks, Matt, and congrats on all the great things you guys are doing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So that wraps up our show for today. We have one show on the calendar for next week. I am really excited to be joined next week by Emily Hayward, who is the head of brand and the co-founder of Red Antler, a leading branding agency that helps nascent brands find their brand voice before even they've revealed themselves to the market. And it's an unusual and sort of counterintuitive thinking about investing heavily in brand before you're even out there. But Emily has done some great work. Red Antler's done some fantastic work. And I can't wait to talk to her about the importance of building brands, especially for young companies. So join us then. We'll be promoting that here shortly. Until that time, I want to give a big thanks once again to Imran Khan of Verishop for taking time out of his busy schedule to be with us. And thank you all again for joining us on Simulmedia Live. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.